There's new reporting coming in revealing Texas border agents caught a dozen gang members, including 7 MS-13 members, within the last 7 days. The officials also caught 6 migrants with criminal records, including convictions for murder and sexual crimes against children. Here to discuss, Arizona Attorney General Mark Brnovich. Mark, thank you for being with us. I got to get your reaction to that latest reporting. That is bone-chilling, and it follows on continued bone-chilling reporting on these kind of matters.
Yeah, absolutely, Brian. Thank you for having me on. And, we know that there are crises throughout the world right now, and our thoughts and prayers are with so many brave people. But remember, here on the southern border, we have been fighting the Biden administration's failure to secure our border and their lack of desire to protect our communities. So we have a record amount of people that have illegally crossed into the country. We know from Border Patrol that we have a record number of gotaways. These are people that are trying to evade capture and detection. We know that there are people that are dangerous, hardened criminals that are being released from jails and prisons, being released into our community. And literally, people are coming across here, as you just reported, that are murderers and rapists and arsonists that are just coming into the United States. And so we have lost operational control of our border. We've seized it to the cartels. And one number that I just want to mention, within the last 3 months, more than 2,500 pounds of fentanyl has been seized along our southern border. That's literally enough fentanyl to kill more than 200 million Americans, and that's just in the past 3 months.
Mark, where does that go? I mean, that's obviously not staying in Arizona. It's obviously not staying in border states. Talk about the route, because that is just a shocking number to me. I mean, that's enough to affect 200 million Americans. Talk about where it's finding its way.
It's finding its way from Manhattan Beach to Manhattan, Kansas, to Manhattan, New York. It's affecting every community throughout the country. Essentially, what happens is the cartels, smuggle it into the United States through various routes in Arizona, Texas, and even California, and then it essentially gets distributed through hubs like Phoenix and other places throughout the country, through the Midwest, in Chicago, St. Louis. And so we've seen the consequences of this, Brian. I mean, last year in this country, more than 100,000 Americans died of fentanyl and opioid-related deaths, overdoses. I mean, almost twice as many people that were killed during the 8 years of the Vietnam War. I mean, so this is devastating our communities, and not only just because of the lives lost, but there's a fiscal cost and how this is affecting us in our productivity as a country, and people or their families that are being torn apart. And so you have kids dying. I mean, literally now in places like Pima County, fentanyl overdose deaths and drug deaths are the leading cause of deaths, more than car accidents and everything else amongst teenagers. So people are dying as a result of the Biden administration's failed policies.
Yeah, and even where lives aren't lost, they're destroyed because it is such an insidious drug. I got to get your take on this. Over the weekend, Kash Patel, the former chief of staff in the Pentagon, told R. Maria Bartiromo the Biden administration isn't taking the border crisis seriously. Listen to this.
When I was Deputy Director of National Intelligence, we basically come up with a program for Tier 1 initiatives. And Tier 1 initiatives include protecting against terrorism, bringing home hostages, our southern border, stemming the flow of narcotics. Right. That's what we focused on. The difference here is this Department of Defense has been ordered to focus on climate change and the weather.
I mean, it's terrorists and narcotics. That's the stakes involved here. And he's saying they're just not taking it seriously at all. It's about climate change when it comes to the border, Mark.
Brian, the man-made disaster facing the world today, with total disrespect to John Kerry, isn't climate change. It's the border crisis that the far left has created here in the United States. We just talked about the massive inflow of drugs, the massive inflow of people, but let us not forget, literally, people on the terror watch list have been apprehended. I know from my own experiences in southern Arizona, currency from countries like Yemen and Somalia and Saudi Arabia, countries even on the terror watch list like Iran, that's been currency, and items have been found in our desert. So there literally are people that are trying to evade capture that we know that are from Middle Eastern countries, and we literally know the people on the terror watch list have been apprehended. So shame on the Biden administration for failing to recognize that border security is national security, and we need to do everything we can to protect our border here in the United States of America.
You know, you'd like to hear a lot about this in the State of the Union tomorrow night, Mark. I think for the good of the country, I doubt we're going to, but it's got to be an issue to be addressed because the stakes are so high. And as you say, from Manhattan, Kansas to Manhattan, New York, people are going to feel the effects of this porous border. We got to leave it there, Mark. Thanks for being with us today. Well, I'm Brian Brenberg. That does it for us. Elizabeth McDonald will be back for her show tomorrow night. Thanks for watching the Evening Edit on Fox Business. Have a great evening.